Hi, I'm B. Welcome back to episode 12 of Wreck This Journal. If you've been following along, you know that I'm using this book for art prompts and experimentation. Okay, so the first pages that I'm working on today are pages 54 and 55, tongue painting. 1, eat some colorful candy. 2, lick this page. So I'm definitely not going to be doing that. I will not be eating candy or licking this page. I don't want to get any sort of mold or anything like that on here. The first animal that comes to mind when I think of tongues are snakes. I originally was going to draw snakes, slithering amongst pieces of candy, things like that, like slithering among a bunch of jelly beans. So that way it would have like the candy as well as the tongue in there. But I just really had a want to do something more tropical and vibey like that. So that's what I ended up doing for these pages. I used my Ohuhu markers for watercolors like I normally do. This time I wanted to experiment a little bit more with the different types of colors. I usually use blue for my shades and things like that, but blue on top of yellow makes like a green shade, that sort of thing. So I didn't know if that, was really the best shade, and blue on top of orange makes this nasty like brown color. And so I opted to try for like a red color to shade the orange for its shadow, and then I also added a little bit of purple, like a pinky purple color, to add a little bit more shadow, and I think that looks a whole lot better than it would have if I had used the blue. The blue shading on top of the orange just does not, it's just not as pretty. It definitely dulls the color down. It's not as vibrant, that sort of thing. The background, I wanted to do this like gray color. If you do any sort of digital art, you know the gray color I'm talking about. It's a very neutral gray color. You can pick it either a warm gray or a cool gray, but it's like super neutral. So like all the colors pop off of it. And that was kind of the gray tone I was going for. This turned out more of a periwinkle color once it was dry, but I still think it turned out really well. I do still think it made all of the colors pop and do what, I was looking for. When I was working on the snakes themselves, I really wanted to get that texture. So after I had done the first couple base layers, I went back on and I tried just like tapped it on there so that way it would get a little splotchy basically. So that way the snakes had some more texture to them, hopefully to indicate, that they have scales. I used my white gel pen to add a little bit of those highlights and things like I always do. And the gel pen on top of the watercolor, they have that shine to them even after they're dry. And so that does add a little bit more to the juiciness of the lemons and the limes, and as well as the snake scales, just to give it a little bit more texture, a little bit more interest. After I glued both of these sheets into the pages, I did slightly get that middle orange a little wonky, which is a little frustrating for me. I thought about removing it and then like putting the pip back in there, but whatever, good enough. It's slightly wonky, but it is what it is, so it's just going to stay where it's at. I did add whole oranges and whole lemons to the bottom of the instructions just to fill in more color there, just to add a little bit more of that citrus vibe. I do really like the rhythm in regards to the oranges and the lemons on the painting itself. I really like the movement of the snakes and how it draws your eyes, and then how the leaves are kind of filler, but there's enough interest in them that it can still draw your eye, like so you can still look at them, but then it's always going to point you back towards, an orange or a lemon or the snake, and it's just going to bring your interest right back. The next pages that I'm working on today are pages 56 and 57. Write one word over and over. Okay, so for this page, I really wanted it to be a sketch study or something like that. So I took the time to sketch out a couple, different types of chickens and a couple chicks in there, just so I could have like, chickens doing different things, looking different directions, things like that. Once I was done sketching all of those out, then I went back and I was like, okay, so let's try to add the word chicken to these chickens. And so the first chicken, I made the entire body the word chicken. And I think that turned out really cute. I really liked how that worked. I did the same thing for the chick. Instead of writing chicken, I just wrote chick for its head and then chick across its body. And I think that worked really well as well. Then for this like ugly puffed up chicken, I wrote chicken in a bunch of different ways, trying to show like the different shapes of the body. And I didn't like that one as much. And so I just continued on drawing and sketching a bunch of chickens. And then I wanted to try to do that word chicken over and over again, only a little bit different this time on a different chicken. And so I did try that again. And I do like this one better than the ugly chicken that's over by the cute little sleeping chick. But overall, overall, like, I think my favorite chicken is the one that has just the one word chicken across the whole body. I think that one turned out the best. I don't know, you can still see the artwork a lot better. The focus is more on the art than the words, I would say. But anyway, I ended up using my Ohuhu markers as watercolors again, just to like get this base coloring of the chickens themselves and of the chicks, and you know, get some texture and things like that. And then I went back in and I took a green colored pencil and I just wrote chicken over and over again in the background. And the idea behind that was that it would look like grass, or it would give the appearance of grass, but there was too much white space, so I ended up adding like green watercolor to the top of that, and the words chicken, they kind of fade, but it does add a texture to the background basically. So it's there, but it's kind of faint. When it was all done, I decided to write chicken over a couple of the words so you could like, so that way it's more obvious that, hey, this says chicken a million times in the background or whatever. I feel like there's still a lack of contrast here than there is when there is like a blue involved, but the blue just makes it look so muddied, and I really don't like that. I would rather have the vibrancy of the purple. And so I'm thinking that maybe if I use like actual watercolors instead of watercolor markers, it might come out a lot clearer in that way. But yeah, the other thing that I experimented on this is that I highlighted everything in my metallic Sharpie, and I went around the outlines of everything. The chickens I think turned out really good. Obviously it's a chicken study, so some of them are better than others, but they're cute, and you know, they're doing their little chicken thing. And honestly, I feel like they should have names and personalities and things like that. But they're really cute, and I am pleased with how this page turned out. Okay, so for both the pictures today, I did do some experimenting. I experimented to see if I could get better shadows for warmer colors like oranges and yellows and reds and things like that, as opposed to adding the blue on there and making them muddied. And I think that I have a better understanding now than I did at the beginning. I also experimented a little bit with my metallic Sharpie. And you know, I think I still need to experiment more with both of the things. But I think this was a great place to start. I will see you all next time. Bye.